Three, two, one. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Welcome to the Growth Secrets interview series. I'm here with Anoop Menon, and I'm going to mess his name up the entire time, but he's a nice guy, so he's going to forgive me. He is with Confiance, really interesting company. He's got a really great – he and I have already had some conversation here. I told you guys in the last interview I did, I'm about to just shave my head. It's driving me crazy. He's braver than me. He already did it, which tells you that this is just going to be a really fun conversation. We've already had a good chat before this. So Anoop, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your own background first? I'm always interested to hear about the business leader who's making it all happen. So tell me about yourself. What's brought you to today?
Okay, great. So I'm originally from India, that you would very well understand with my accent. So I grew up in India. I always loved like electronic devices growing up. I always loved to, unscrew things and see what's happening inside, and always active with any kind of projects that involve building stuff. So early in my life, I was really interested with all these things. So then the computers happened, of course, that got me super attracted. So while my friends were actually playing video games, I was more interested on things like, hey, how can I build something, right? So after after my high school, I made a decision that I'll actually do engineering, and I was planning to come to the US to do my undergrad degree in computer science. So I took a break while all my friends went to college after high school. I took a break for a year and started preparing for my SAT, and had to do TOEFL, that's test of English as a foreign language, because I do not come from a country where the primary language is English. So I decently scored everything, and I was selected to attend Buffalo, sunny Buffalo in New York, and I applied for a student visa. That was like a couple of months after 9/11 happened, and they never actually let me in, right? So my mom did not like the fact that, okay, you're going to try it again, lose another year. Indian moms can be a little bit crazy when it comes to children, because they give a lot of importance to education. At the same time, I'm a single child, and she actually raised me up as a single mom, so she was never going to leave me alone. So long story short, I did my engineering in India, and then I worked for a New Jersey-based telecom product company. Uh, yeah, I worked for them for like 1.5 years. But in the back of my head, I always had this thing that I need to start my own business, right? And I always love open source technologies. I always love like anything to do with Linux. That was my thing. Kind of the guy who hate Microsoft with everything. That was me, right? So uh, it was a really good job. They had a facility in Bangalore, in India. I loved the job. I was learning a lot of new things. Like something I could learn in 10 years, they actually made me learn in like 2 months, right? The CTO and my CEO, they were all really nice people, but they want to make sure that I learn things faster. So I never thought that I would ever leave that job. I thought like, okay, this is good. The pay money is good. Like Monday to Friday, work hard. Friday, Saturday and Sunday, like you can drink all the beer you want, hang out with your friends. It's all good, happy life. Then a major turning point happened in the business, where the U.S.-based company, New Jersey, they were bought by another company in Atlanta, and they did not need me there, right? And of course, they actually presented that in a really nice way that, hey, we do not need a developer like you in India, so it's right time for you to start looking for a job. They gave me a really good severance too, so I was not worried about it. And I was thinking like, okay, do I need to go work for somebody else? Because I didn't have any student debt or anything, because education is India is a lot cheaper compared to going to a college in the US. So long story short, I'm like, okay, let me start my own business, right? And we came up with a name, started looking at like small projects from a website called rentacoder.com. It's like the Elance or Thumbtack or Upwork kind of thing. I had some specific skill set, so we actually landed in a project like quickly. So I took a risk. Like I took all the money I had. I took all the money that I could get from my mom. So we actually started a garage, and I hired 2 or 3 of my really close friends, and told them like, there's enough money to pay for the rent, pay everyone for 6 months, and the internet, and keep the power lights on, right? Uh, if things are not good by the end of the third month, I'm going to look for another job, and you'll do the same thing. Funny thing is, in 15 days, we broke even because we were all taking small salary, right? So that's where it started. Then I started traveling a lot, all across the globe, you name it, Australia, Dubai, London, US, like everywhere. Uh, at some point, I understood like I need to settle down a little bit. Like in between, I got married and I had a small kid. I started missing her because I'm always traveling. So, like 3/4 of a year, I will be outside India. And then when I go back home, in fact, this happened when I went back home. My daughter did not knew who it was, right? And that was the turning point. So uh, I made a decision like I need to pick one country, one state, and one city, and just focus on there and move my family also there. I did not even think. I chose United States, North Carolina, and I chose this small town called Belmont that's like 15 minutes outside Charlotte, Charlotte Douglas Airport. Like it's like 15 minutes away from Charlotte Airport. It's funny because I love the small town feel. I asked myself like where I want to raise my kids. Uh, I was not comfortable raising my kids in a big city like Manhattan. Like I'm the kind of guy, likes to hang out with my kids and like barbecue. Ended up here. It's been really good growth so far.
Right. There's so much about that story that I love, right? You actually started the business out of a garage. Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
I
I
did.
thought that was like an urban legend that Bill Gates and Steve Jobs started out
Oh
of their
my God.
garages, and no one actually did it. So that makes me so happy to hear that
Thank you.
really happens. And I love that you just had that very frank conversation, which is
Hmm.
like, hey guys, we have to make this thing work, or we're out of a job, or we got to go figure something else out,
I
which
agree.
is actually a very, we tend to think that entrepreneurs are these big risk takers. And yes, you did take a risk, but like, I tend to think it's more calculated, and that I think you may even, you can come back on this if you want, if I'm wrong in terms of your mindset. But it's like, look, we got enough money to last us this long, and so we're gonna do the following things, and if it works after this time, we'll keep going. If not, we'll figure something else out. I think that is a key signifier of a true entrepreneur. Of, hey, we're either gonna figure this out or we'll figure something else out. Right?
I
That's the
agree.
other way to do it.
I agree. And two reasons for that. One, I always tell my team members that we should have a fail fast kind of a methodology. Like, if you have a product or a service that is not actually good for the market, no matter how hard you push, it's not going to work. And the second reason I told that to the initial team who are still there in the company, we started right. We started in 2008, right? That was right in the middle of the recession. So I knew like things were not going to be easy, but we all had that mindset like, okay, we got the fire in our bellies and we will give it a try. And again, at the same time, I do not want these people trust me, right? These 3 or 4 people, they were working for other companies, and they quit their job for the startup to come work for me. So I want to make sure that I do not actually put them in trouble. They have their families and dependents. So that 6 months was a good plan. We didn't fail, thank God. But I made a lot of mistakes in the last 10 years, and it's always been learning and moving on.
And that's another key signifier, right? Is that everybody fails in some way. Like everybody makes poor decisions. But it's like, and I saw a really great graphic. I don't normally care for this kind of thing, but it was on Instagram, and it was like, it shows one guy, or one little stick figure, and he's surrounded by a bunch of blocks that say failure on it, right? And he's just looking depressingly at these blocks. And it shows another picture of a stick figure, and he's stacked the blocks like stair steps, right? And he's walking up the steps. And again, normally I think those are kind of cheesy, but I really like that visualization. I think that there, and I also would carry this forward and say, this is why entrepreneurs who are successful are rewarded exponentially more than people that don't take those risks and learn from that failure, because they've gotten more bruises and more scars, but they've stacked those on top of each other, and it's actually made them better. So a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, they say, yeah, I've made a ton of mistakes in the last several years or the lifetime of this business, and I wouldn't be where I am today without making all those mistakes.
I agree.
So I love that. So let's segue a little bit. So what does the business actually do?
Okay. So Confluence Global, we are a software solutions business. So our core areas include ERP implementation. We are the top 3 best partner for a ERP system called Odoo for North America. Then we also do like custom application development, so mobile applications for iPhone, iPad, Android, tablets, or phones. And companies like startups to small and medium businesses to large corporations, if they need like a product development using any innovative technology like web or blockchain or machine learning, we have the capability to do that. That's what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that space as well as I would like to.
Okay.
But here's what I like about that, and here's what I know about that. I'm willing to bet you chose that niche for a reason beyond the fact that you just had a particular passion for ERP technology and how to integrate with them. So I'm more interested in knowing how you identified that need in the marketplace and what made you say, this is where we need to focus. Because I would assume with your developmental or your developer skills, you probably could have gone into any space you wanted to. Is that fair to say?
It is. Yeah, that's a good question. And it's fair to say that. So, like I said initially, this company is built on open source technology, right? Like we were never into Microsoft or those proprietary software solutions, right? So we gather a good market domination with building all these applications for our customers, right? And we build a good customer base. Now we started asking these customers like, what are their pain points, right? So where an ERP come into picture is, think about a typical American company, right? Uh, it's a capitalist nation, and small and medium business contribute more to the GDP than the bigger corporation. That's one thing that America is different from the entire world, right? So when somebody is starting out as a business, whatever they do, whether they are a HVAC business or they are into a restaurant or anything that they do. So the first thing they will do is they'll incorporate the business, right? And that actually goes through a CPA or an attorney. And the CPA will tell him or her, like, hey, you need QuickBooks to run your accounting and finance. So they actually go in and purchase QuickBooks to run their accounting and finance. Now, the most important thing for any company, especially a B2B business, is sales, right? Without that, they do not exist. So they bring in their first sales guy, and he will say, like, hey, we need a CRM solution. So I'm an expert on Salesforce or Soho or some other system. Now they actually add like that system for them to manage, which is their customer relationship management, right? Now, based on the industry, whether they are manufacturing or retail or e-commerce, they bring in like different solutions, like something for their inventory management, something else for managing partners, something else for their marketing. So at some point they grow fast. They understand like they have like 14 to 15 different disconnected systems, or they are like they cannot actually talk to each other, or they're not well integrated on a day-to-day basis, right? That's where they look at like, okay, I need one software to completely run my business, right? That should be the operating system for my company. That's where the ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning that come into the picture. And there are the big names in the industry like SAP or NetSuite or Microsoft Dynamics. But for these small and medium businesses, they cannot actually spend like $1 million in licenses for a year, because the license itself go into the six figures easily, right? And for these companies, small and medium companies that we support, um, technology is an enabler for them, but they cannot actually invest all their money into technology because they are not a technology company, right? So long story short, we were looking at like what we can bring as a solution for them. And I've been researching a lot and found this company called Open ERP. They're from Brussels, Belgium. So we learned about that software. So Fabian, who is the CEO of that company, he started this project, this open source project from his garage to help his dad, because he couldn't actually find a good software to run his dad's business. So I really like Fabian's logic. I'm like, okay, this looks cool. So I learned the system, and I want to see whether I can sell it to somebody or not, right? So I learned the system and demoed to a customer in the Middle East. Like they were so interested to buy, but we had to back out of that sale in the first place because they did not have really good internet connection in their warehouses. And this is a web-based software. And we are talking about almost 10 years ago, like internet is not that common in every place in Middle East because we didn't have the 5G or 4G or 3G back then, right? So we had to pull out of that. But then I understood like, okay, cool. This is a good software that I can sell in the US because US is more advanced, right? So I picked one of my developers and asked him like, I'm going to give you a challenge. Why don't you learn everything about this? This will be your thing, right? So we hired like 6 or 7 people, and we took like a year they learned the system quickly. They were ready to sell. I did not sell to anybody. So we easily spent like a year to 1.5 years just to make sure our base is right. Like we don't want to be in front of a customer where when they ask something, oh, we don't know what it does. That'll be bad because ERP is so complex, big software, right? So 1.5 years later, we started selling, and then we partnered with OpenERP. Then they changed their rebranded to Odoo. They started heavily investing in the US. Their headquarters is in San Francisco. Then, yeah, the growth was awesome. I love it. And long story short, today it's one of the largest teams that we have.
That's really great. And so you found basically a hole in the market. You found a technology that wasn't being exploited as well as it could have been under different circumstances, and you took advantage of those two, and you made a successful business out of it, or at least a department of your business out of it.
I agree.
So I think that's really fantastic, and that's what I want. That's what I like to talk about here. Is like there's nothing obvious in that. That was a very calculated move. That was a move that was based on data and information, and then you executed on it. That's another component that we talk about a lot when it comes to leading a business, and it's not so much in ideas, but it's in execution, right? Everyone gets glorified, or we glorify these businesses who have this great idea without knowing that most of them are actually not unique ideas. They're really either better versions of another idea or better executed versions of a similar idea. So that stuff I like to see. Well, let's shift a little bit then. And this is the Growth Secrets interview series. Facebook group is where all this begins. I'm always curious to know, what are you doing and how are you getting new customers, right? What is your, you can go high level if you want, but what's your marketing look like? How does that feed into sales, and how are you converting new customers?
Good question. I think the start of this conversation, when we were talking, you looked at my website and told me that the website looks good. So I believe that website is is your first salesperson. So it has to look cool.
Amen.
And there's a saying that the cobbler's kids never have uh, sorry, the cobbler's kids never have their own shoes. So it's always difficult for my team to spend time on our own website, but I'm always being on top of them. Like, okay, we need to have the latest technology. Like we need to be cool, right? Because this is the thing: if you want to build a website and coming to my company, what'll be the first thing you'll be looking at? My website and see like how it is doing. So the website actually does a really good job for us. We have a marketing team. We have 2 to 3 people who are really good on search engine optimization. So if you search for like relevant keywords, that's for our business. We are on the first page of Google. So people will click on it, come to us, and we have a sales team in the US who will actually take it based on what the request is. If it's for mobile app development, it goes to Jason. If it's Odoo or the ERP, it goes to Sean. A couple of things goes to Brad. A couple of things comes to me, right? So we also do like search engine marketing on Google Ads. We do that from time to time, depending on what time of the year, and if our sales pipeline is a little low, we actually run ads on Google. I would say the best customers are always, these are references or referrals from our existing customers. That actually helps a lot. Then I'm actually part of a group called Vistage International, which is an inter-CEO disciplinary advisory disciplinary group. I've been with Vistage for 5 years now. So I never tried to sell anything to anybody in my Vistage group because that's within their bylaws that you're not there to sell anything. You're there to learn about your business, where uh, we have a great speaker for half a day, and the next half a day we have like issue processing, right? The cool thing is, since I'm the technology guy building cool things, right? Most of them, they reach out to me. Some of them, they need a simple website. Some of them need help with SEO, which we actually made that as a service as well, because we got really good people who can help our prospective customers to, like sign a deal with us, and we do the SEO for them. The more they grow, the more actually they invest back on building a cool app to delight their customer, things like that. Um, Repeat business is a lot. I love, as a service company, I love having repeat customers, especially those we have a monthly revenue. That's what my CFO loves to. Those customers we sponsor events. For example, we were a sponsor for Tech Disrupt in California last year. Tech Disrupt, that's one of the
Oh yeah,
largest
nice.
IT show in the US. So last year we were there. Then there was another Odoo Connect show, which was in San Francisco. We were a sponsor for that. Then we do like different soft, along with Odoo. We actually do like different cities. Last year we did like 5 different cities. This year we were supposed to do the first one in Charlotte, but we announced a date and then we canceled the date because of everything going with the coronavirus.
So that brings me to the last kind of segue. So first of all, I love that you guys are clearly taking a data-based approach, or at least an analytical approach to your marketing, because as I hear you say, when the pipeline gets dry or starts to dry up, how to strategically inject some ad budget
Mm-hmm.
into filling that back up, which is what I like to hear. A lot of people will ask me, should we do advertising or should we do organic? And I normally tell them yes, right? Like do them both in proper balance and make sure that you're doing so strategically. So I love hearing that. That really that I'm pleased to hear that. The other thing you talk about obviously is that there was you had an in-person marketing and sales component that was destroyed, for lack of a better way of putting it, by coronavirus. So let's talk about that, Anoop. I mean, it's impossible to ignore the elephant in the room. Everybody has been affected by this. How has your business been affected, and how are you guys adjusting to things post-pandemic?
So initially, I was really worried, right? Because uh, the first 2 weeks we didn't see like much of a change. But you have to understand with our ERP business, that side of the business, most of our customers are manufacturers, retailers, wholesalers, and even e-commerce companies, right? So once they started having a problem where some of those customers they ship a lot of items to Northern California or New York. So once these states or cities having problems, then they do not want to manufacture more because they cannot actually send all these things in. So definitely many of them reached back to us and told us like, can we pause the IT development for a month, right? Can we do that? And we have customers who are building softwares or products for the hospitality industry and the airline industry, which is completely shattered right now. So definitely, I had that fear, um, but I did see an opportunity as well, where people started reaching out to us. The phone started ringing where uh, those companies or businesses who doesn't have a ERP solution, or they are not used to working from home. Now they're thinking like, I need a mobile app to communicate well with my customers or my internally. So we started getting like project inquiries like that. So I could really see that there'll be a paradigm shift where existing customers who have everything on IT, they might actually pause and take a break. But again, these customers are not going anywhere. Most of them, they will call me and ask me, or one of the account managers, like, hey, I know that we are going to take a pause on this project, so for a month, but I want to make sure that those developers working on my project, I need it when we actually bounce back, because we'll be moving faster once that curve is flattened and we are ready to roll back, right? So we told them like we will try our level best to do that. I cannot promise, because uh, one of the things with Confiance is we do not deal with external consultants or any 1099, anybody like that. Everybody is salaried on my payroll. So if a customer actually put a hold on a project for a month, I cannot have that resource sitting there doing nothing, right? So um, so we made some strategic changes, and I had a call with all my salespeople. I told them like, I'm not going to be worried about any of your sales targets on like the dollar figures. Do not try to pick up the phone and call anybody or email anybody or any communication. Do not try to sell anything to anybody. Somebody reaches out to you, yes, you can actually entertain that. Otherwise, if you're reaching out to somebody you were actually talking to before this whole craziness started, you can ask them like how they are staying, how things are, how's family, but do not try to push a proposal to anybody, because we do not want to be that company. First of all, people will remember you for your actions, right, when you come back. And I told it straight and made sure that the entire company understands that our brand should not be associated with some ambulance chaser kind of a sales methodology. I do not want to hear that, right? Even if sales is down, like if things go completely crazy, top management will take half the salary and we will actually balance things. But we are not going to the customers and creating any problems for them. Now, going back to the other question, yes, meeting people. I'm an extrovert person. I love to meet people, right? Uh, and these events are the events that we do. It's really good because I love them for the fact that it's all about educating your prospective customers. We are never trying to sell anything to them. We show them, like, we show a demo of the product, or we, like, every city that we had those Odoo road shows last year, we flied in a customer from another city, So they will actually talk about their experience working with Confiance, right? So those events are nice because there's a personal feel, right? Because at the end of the day, uh, although they say business is between two different companies, you will buy something only from me, right? Only if you trust me. You believe that there's a connection between me and you at a personal level. Okay, I can trust Anoop. I can trust Anoop's team. I can trust Confiance. Otherwise, you're not spending $100 or $100,000 with me, right? Like that's the truth. So, long story short, we got affected, but we did not furlough or lay off any employees. We don't plan to either because we're keeping a balance at this point, but still we are actually keeping our eyes open in the sense that if things go more crazier in the US, then we might actually have the top management take like half the salary. And in fact, that suggestion did not come from me. My top 10 or 20 people in the company, they came to me and told me like that should be the way actually we should be looking at. And I told them like we will actually pivot and make some changes, and we will the company, once everything is back, we'll actually pay off that money. It's not like we are taking away that have the salary for 2 or 3 months. Then again, we had this problem where some technology we did not have enough projects. Like we had some projects which got like completed and delivered, so we were expecting some ongoing work from these customers, and they depend on those industries are completely shut down currently. So like they cannot do anything, right? So we are like, okay, we will pivot and do something else. So we have some good relationship with the law enforcement here. So we are actually building a free application for the Gaston County Sheriff's Office here. The Sheriff's Office, we have built their website, and the officers, including the sheriff, is a good personal friend of mine. So we reached out to them and told them like, we'll build you a free iOS and Android app that you can give to all the citizens, right? It's a simple thing. On one screen on the app, it shows like the COVID-19 state-wise. It pulls data from the CDC and show like how many deaths, how many people are infected. That's a state list, which is updated like regularly, automatically from the CDC. Then the other is where they can actually securely send a broadcast a message to all the citizens having this app on their iOS and Android, like anything like an alert or anything that they need to give a real data to their citizens, because there's so many conspiracies and bad information that people share on social network, where especially Facebook and Twitter, where that's a reason we have a problem with toilet paper shortage, or we have problems with people hoarding food items or pet food, like so. We build this thing so that they can communicate securely with all their citizens. We are waiting for the confirmation from the Apple Store to accept it, because since they're a government entity, we have to go through a lot of process, and the app has to be completely verified by the developers at Apple. The team actually who work on approving apps on the App Store. So I believe that next week will be live.
So that's so cool. That's really noble. A couple of things you mentioned there. I mean, one, providing that sort of service for free to your local law enforcement. That is now, not everybody is willing or able to do that kind of thing. So that's really impressive. And also, I love that story that your team and your higher management came to you willing to sacrifice part of their salary for the good of the team. Anoop, this has been some of the most impressive stuff I've heard about a company that I've talked to. And so I really appreciate you sharing all of this. It's impossible for me not to see this. You're leading a business, you're a part of your community, you're living the American dream. And I want you to know I appreciate it, and I appreciate you talking to me today. How can people learn more about you guys and what you're doing, maybe for your community, and just what Confiance is doing all in all?
I would say the website is a good search. We are trying to do more social media things. It's not being consistent. That's one thing. In 2020, we have to improve a lot, communicate more, and build a set of a group of people, who will be loyally following what we do. Because we are always being busy with customer projects and things like that, social media is one thing we haven't put a lot of effort into, but we will do that.
It's good. Yeah, we'll make sure to put links to your website. And folks, if you're watching this at home and you're like, I got to get in touch with Anoop, we've got a project for him, or I've got a connection for him, and you can't find him through that website, or if you want to just be put directly in touch, I'm happy to make that connection if that's all right with you, Anoop.
Appreciate that. And also, if any of your uh, subscribers or viewers or the people who follow you on the podcast, if they are living in a city or city in the U.S. where if they know they have good connection with their county sheriff's office and they want to use this app free of cost, we are happy to offer that as well. Like it's something we can do while we are all going through this COVID-19 situation.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that, and I definitely have a recommendation for you as soon as we get off of this live. So I appreciate your time so much, Anoop. This has been a fantastic interview. Folks, those of you who are watching, listening, I appreciate you joining. If you're watching this live, just comment live down below. If you're watching the replay later on, just comment replay. Lets me know when people are watching. And if this was helpful for you, if you found something interesting, let me know in the comments. And if you just want to make fun of me for my overgrown haircut that I still haven't been figured out how to take care of, just drop something in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. So thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Growth Secrets interview. Thanks.